काफ़ी चीज़ें हो रही हैं. Brands are dying, brands are getting built up. Mamaearth got its IPO.
So right now the market is hot, but on the same side, some brands are doing pretty well. Some newer brands are coming up. Some bootstrap brands are growing.
D2C ब्रांड का DNA किस तरह का दिखता है? कुछ इंडस्ट्रीज हैं जो हम पर्सनली भी देख रहे हैं, which are automatically profitable.
If the numbers on Excel sheet feels forceful, अगर वहाँ ही नंबर नहीं बन रहे तो भाई रियल लाइफ में भी नहीं बनेंगे. Start selling smartphones on with performance marketing. You're not going to make money.
What is your favorite D2C brand that you consume and you say कि हाँ यार इसका प्रोडक्ट मैं बार बार ऑर्डर कर सकता हूँ?
एक भारत है जिसके पास परचेजिंग पावर है, एंड देन वी हैव 95% ऑफ भारत जिसके पास उतनी परचेजिंग पावर नहीं है. अभी आपको बिहार के किसी छोटे से गांव में डिलीवरी करने में प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आप यूपी में टायर 3 टाउन में डिलीवरी कर सकते हो कि यार देखो आपका प्रोडक्ट हम शिप कर रहे हैं, जो 10% प्रीपेड ऑफर आप उनको वेबसाइट पे दे रहे थे ना, वो कॉल पे दोबारा ऑफर कर दो.
Hey everyone, I'm Siddharth. I'm the co-founder and head of growth at XOR Labs, and we are doing this for the first time. तो काफ़ी काम कर आए हैं, काफ़ी टाइम निकाला, and for the first time I'm being accompanied by my co-founder Nitin. So a lot of you know me कि हाँ मैं काफ़ी काम करता हूँ, but he is the man behind the scenes. So he's the one who has been driving all the good stuff that we have been doing at XOR Labs. और आज हमने सोचा कि काफ़ी काम कर लिया, टाइम निकालते हैं शाम में, लेट्स डिस्कस अ फ्यू थिंग्स. सो वेलकम नितिन.
थैंक्स.
राइट, सो हमारे पास काफ़ी टॉपिक्स थे बात करने के लिए. वी वांटेड टू टॉक अबाउट D2C, वी वांटेड टू टॉक अबाउट एड टेक, बायजूस के साथ काफ़ी कुछ हो रहा है. वी ऑल्सो वांटेड टू टॉक अबाउट हेल्थ केयर, हेल्थ टेक, बट वी डिसाइडेड दैट विल टॉक अबाउट D2C. इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग कैटेगरी. ऑल ऑफ यू नो शार्क टैंक पे काफ़ी ब्रांड्स हैं जो आ रहे हैं एज ऑफ नाउ, right? So this is what we wanted to talk about, and we are going to start by discussing it. So Nitin, I think we are ready to go ahead, right?
Pretty much.
All right, let's start. So the first thing is, Nitin, I want to ask you that what is your general feeling about this segment D2C? मतलब काफ़ी चीज़ें हो रही हैं, brands are dying, brands are getting built up. We have seen some of the most amazing success stories. Mamaearth got its IPO. So
Right.
what is your own personal perception after having worked with like hundreds of brands in this sector?
Right now, if you ask me, then D2C is pretty like too hot to handle. Like given the profitabilities, given the pressure of the VCs, the scaling, right now the market is too hot to handle because D2C brands have pressure that they need to be profitable as soon as they can. And we all know that profitability in this market, especially in D2C and D2C FMCG, is not something that will happen overnight. So there are something that need to be inculcated within the brands, that brand needs to, some of the brands need to reinvent, and I guess that needs to happen before they hit profitability. So right now the market is hot, but on the same side, some brands are doing pretty well. Some newer brands are coming up. Some bootstrap brands are growing. So yeah, I mean it's a mix of mixed bag things, but I would say most of the brands are facing the heat because of I mean poor management, or maybe poor marketing strategies, or maybe poor inventory management. So a lot of things are there, but right now, if you ask me that is it the right time to start a D2C brand, I would say no. But if you ask me, is it the right time to maybe pivot or maybe reinvent themselves and be profitable, then yes, a big yes.
हाँ मतलब कॉन्वर्सेशन तो यही है, लाइक पीपल आर ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड कि यार प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी कैसे निकालें.
बिल्कुल.
बट व्हेन यू से कि हाँ इज इट द राइट टाइम टू स्टार्ट D2C ब्रांड, आई मीन दैट्स चैलेंजिंग बिकॉज आई मीन वी नो कि हमने एक बैकएंड पे लॉन्च किया है, लॉट ऑफ पीपल डोंट नो अबाउट इट,
Right.
बट आई थिंक इट्स गोइंग इन द राइट डायरेक्शन. प्रॉब्लम उसकी डिटेल्स हम जल्दी रिवील करेंगे. बट टू बिगिन विद आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि after having worked with all of these brands and after having all these success stories, right, एक successful D2C brand का DNA किस तरह का दिखता है? Like what are the right set of elements it needs to succeed?
Interesting. Like every brand, like be it D2C, be it SaaS, anything, like they have to have a company DNA in place. And for a D2C brand, I would say the first thing is the understanding of the market. And it may sound very vague that okay, I know my market, every D2C brand know their market, but that's not the case. You need to understand that where that market is, what price point they are willing to pay. It's not like that 999 rupees market price is suitable for every Indian. That's not the case. Where is that market? in which demography that market lies. That is the first thing. Second is a lightning speed execution, because D2C brand building is not something that if you are lazy, then please don't do it, right? You have to have a lightning speed execution. Third is flexibility in terms of your marketing, in terms of your go to market strategy, in terms of how you handle your brands, how you handle your team. So I guess within these three parameters, if these three are there, then I guess you will be successful in D2C space. Yes, of course. I mean, a good team is important in house or a partner team, but that is, I guess, cherry on the top.
हाँ, ये इन हाउस एजेंसी वाला क्वेश्चन मैं पूछूंगा दोबारा से, बट हाँ, आई थिंक देर आर सम इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट्स दैट यू डिड मेंशन. सो प्राइस पॉइंट आई आल्सो फील इट्स अ वेरी बिग कंसर्न. सो आई जस्ट शेयर एन एनेक्डोट. आई एम नॉट श्योर मैंने पर्सनली तेरे साथ शेयर किया कि नहीं, बट देर वाज दिस ब्रांड विच केम टू अस बैक इन आई थिंक 2022, एंड दे सेड कि यार हमें बहुत ऐसे वी वांट टू सेल ऑन प्रीमियम सिद्धार्थ, वी डोंट वांट टू डू डिस्काउंट. एंड रोल द क्लॉक अ ईयर, लाइक जो उनके शायद बेडशीट्स किसी टाइम पे 2500 के बिक रही थी, वो आई नो उसका प्राइस आज के डेट में 1500 है. इट मे बी बिकॉज हाँ उन्होंने इन्वेंट्री काफ़ी ज़्यादा मंगाई हो, उनको बेटर डील्स मिला हो, बट आई थिंक अनलेस द प्राइस इज राइट it's not going to work. And second thing, a lot of entrepreneurs also say that it's not about the price, it's essentially about the value that you add at that price, right? But it's a very like vague idea, right? मतलब हो सकता है, how do you even justify, or it's very hard to even understand it in the very initial stages of the business कि यार value मिल रहा है brand को कि नहीं मिल रहा. And moving on, just taking this topic a little further, I would also like to discuss a book that I have just been reading. So it's a book by Pulak Prasad. The book's name is What I Learned About Investing from Darwin. So he uses this concept of convergence, evolutionary convergence, which basically means कि उन्होंने क्या किया, उन्होंने अलग अलग ऑर्गेनिज्म स्टडी किए डार्विन ने, एंड ही नोटिस दैट ऑन सर्टेन आइलैंड्स अगर एक ही स्पीशीज के 3 अलग अलग मतलब animals were placed on certain islands, they eventually evolved with certain set of features, right? Now actually in evolution you know that there is randomness, right? कि कुछ भी हो सकता था वहाँ पे, like any kind of evolution would have happened, but they came up with only certain set of features in them, right? And it's about a certain lizard which is called anole, right? So you guys can also read about it. But the interesting thing is what he concludes at the end of that chapter is there is only a certain way in which things can evolve despite all the infinite possibilities, right?
Interesting.
So what I really mean to say is that there is only certain set of features which can make a business. There is certainly a template, right? In fact, he also go on to say that we don't invest in business, we invest in certain templates in which a business fits in, right? So DNA wala question was more on that particular line. But having said that, कुछ इंडस्ट्रीज हैं जो हम पर्सनली भी देख रहे हैं इसी क्वेश्चन को आगे बढ़ाते हुए, विच आर ऑटोमेटिकली प्रॉफिटेबल, राइट? सो जैसे मैं पर्सनली कुछ कैटेगरी जानता हूँ. देयर इज अ लाइटिंग ब्रांड वी हैव बीन वर्किंग विद, लाइक इट्स मैसिवली प्रॉफिटेबल फ्रॉम डे वन. It hasn't changed.
It's been 5 years, I guess.
It's been 5 years and it's still going at one of the best return on ad spend, right? So I just wanted to understand from you that if I just take this model and put it on industry level analysis of D2C brands, which industries do you feel are poised to succeed? Like you are more comfortable कि यार ये इसमें अगर business हो यार, हाँ ये चली जाएगा. So I want that kind of answer from you.
So before we discuss which kind of industries will work, I want to touch upon the first point you mentioned, the templates, right? So my idea of template in a business is not about the process or about that which brand or which category to sell, right? My idea is that template around numbers, right? If the numbers on Excel sheet feels forceful, अगर वहाँ ही नंबर नहीं बन रहे तो भाई रियल लाइफ में भी नहीं बनेंगे.
But before you take this point further, I want to cut you and ask you कि कोई can you give me an example when you say कि यार Excel पे अगर नंबर नहीं बन रहे?
Okay, so there was this brand we were working with, and हमारी टीम में एक एनालिस्ट है, उन्होंने कॉल ली टीम के साथ. So there was a consultant who onboarded with that brand, एंड कंसल्टेंट ने बोला कि यार अपने को एक सर्टेन नंबर हिट करना है, लेट्स से वी हैव टू हिट द नंबर ऑफ 20 lakhs this month, right? And with an ROS of 4. So we my teammate tried to explain that okay, we have conversion rate, we have AOV, we have CTR, these are the parameters we should be working on. But he said no, let's fix them and let's change the ROS from 3 to 4 and see what happens.
Acha, got it.
Right. So I mean, if you're forcing number on Excel, if you're not even sure that how this number will make sense on an Excel sheet, right, then I don't think in real life you will be able to make the business. First of all, the number should make sense in Excel, in your mind, in your conversations. Then it will be realized. So that is the first thing, regardless of whether it is a lighting business, whether it is a shampoo business, whether you are selling plants, anything. If the numbers make sense on Excel, in your mind, in your conversation with your team, then only it will be realized. So that is the first principle when it comes to DNA, or when it comes to that which template works. So for me, this template works, right? If the number doesn't make sense to me or my logic, then even if it is not making sense to me in my mind, then how will I convince my customer, or how will I convince my team that this will actually happen? And those numbers generally doesn't materialize. वो होता ही नहीं है. ठीक है. Now coming back to the second question that you said that okay, which are the industries that are profitable? So I would say, in essence, performance marketing right now are well suited for brands which are generally high AOV. That is the first type of category. Brands which have high AOV because they justify the cost of performance marketing on Facebook, on Instagram, with Meta or Google. So high AOV is one thing, and within high AOV you will see a lot of home decor brand, a lot of interior design brands, right? A lot of brands with a high margin and high AOV. I mean, if you are selling, let's say for example, start selling smartphones on with performance marketing, you are not going to make money because you have high AOV but you don't have high margins. So high AOV, high gross margin, that is the first category for me. Second is when you truly hit the nerve of tier 2, tier 3 India. If you know that what tier 2, tier 3 India wants, that 95% of India wants, right, with the right pricing, then you will make money. Right. So I'll tell you this interesting anecdote. So there was this brand we were working with, and we were selling that particular good at 999, right? And we were getting an ROS of 1.2, 1.4, and it's been there for ages. Like for 18 months we were there only, right? We scaled it to like 40 lakhs a month, but it was not going anywhere beyond that. And then we discussed with the team, and founder was pretty great. The marketing manager understood, right? So we decided that let's do an experiment. Let's cut down our gross margins and offer the same product, right, with a little bit of change of branding at 699. Because the hypothesis was the product is good, but maybe for 999 this doesn't make sense to the 95% of India that we are trying to sell to, because after a certain stage the brand is not scaling. And once we did that, we cut the cost by 30% from 999 to 699, and our conversion rate jump was 2.5x.
Wow.
So unless as a DNA, as a brand is not able to be flexible with the pricing, if you come and say that, boss, okay, I only want to sell this shampoo at 1,999, then you have to understand that which country we are living in. Do we have, yes, definitely we have customer at 1,999, but how many are they? Right? When you look at scaling, we have to understand the brand, we have to understand the demographic, we have to understand the purchasing power of our customers. Right. So what I mean, I hope I answer your questions, right?
Right. In a sense, yes. And so there are two parts to this. So number one is कि एक प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी वाला कॉन्सेप्ट. आई थिंक एक बहुत अच्छा पोस्ट था बाय मार्केटर, सीनियर मार्केटर ऑन लिंक्डइन, एंड ही हैड मेंशन्ड कि you can see whether your product is really valuable or not if people are ready to pay even more for it. So let's say मान लीजिए आपका प्रोडक्ट का वैल्यू 5,000 है, 6,000 है, you increase it by 10%, 20%, people are still buying it. That means that they really, really love your product, right?
Right.
I think there is a second story which is not really readable, and what example that you just gave, I know of course what the brand is, right? So there we see something different. So product is valuable, product is actually also the repeat purchases were really great, but I think it became valuable only when the price was cut. So it's not like a certain product is not giving you value. It is giving you value. It's just that customer is not putting the right price to it, right?
Right.
Because I'm saying कि हो सकता है कि कोई और brand हो which has cut down its price by the same amount. I don't think people are still going to buy it, right? And I think they had amazing landing page. I think one of the best landing. उसका example मैं काफी देता हूँ अपने
Right.
clients को, right?
Right.
But yeah, having said that, the other thing I want to understand is कि what's happening on Shark Tank, right? So
Right.
मतलब काफ़ी चीज़ें बदल गई हैं 3 साल में. I think the kind of valuation at which people are asking money for it has also changed. मतलब हम ऐसे ब्रांड्स भी देख रहे हैं जिसका रोएस शायद 0.2 0.4 है, और हम वहाँ पे ऐसे ब्रांड्स भी देख रहे हैं जिसका रोएस इज समवेयर इन द रेंज ऑफ 4, राइट? कुछ बहुत मैसिवली प्रॉफिटेबल हैं, बूटस्ट्रैप्ड हैं, some even after a lot of funding are still struggling, right? So what's your current opinion on the D2C brands specifically,
Right.
which are appearing on Shark
Right.
Tank?
So if I talk about D2C brands on Shark Tank, so for me, the first season was for equity, right? You pitch on Shark Tank, you offer equity, and you get the money. And in second season, market matured, market moved on from equity, market moved on from scaling a bit, and the deal was you have to offer equity plus we will give you this much debt. So that component came in for D2C, mostly D2C brands. So this year there is another component. You have to get equity and you will have to offer debt plus royalty. So royalty picture comes in apart from interest. So what I'm trying to say here is that the buzz around Shark Tank system कि भाई अभी सिर्फ स्केलिंग से नहीं चलेगा. They want to ensure their capital, the capital they invested in, they want to ensure कि इसका 1x 2x तो मिलेगा ही, whether brand scales, be profitable or not, the investor want their money back. And this is true for Shark Tank, this is true for VCs. We see a lot of brands who are trying to raise capital. The primary question is, are you profitable, or when you are going to be profitable? Because investors have seen enough that they have put capital once and again and they are not able to make money.
राइट. सो मतलब मेरा पर्सनल ओपिनियन इस पे ये है कि आई थिंक देर इज अ स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ ब्रांड्स, राइट? सो एज आई सेड कि सम आर प्रॉफिटेबल, सम आर नॉट, बट आई थिंक द फंडामेंटल इज दैट if you have a good product, you're going to it's going to work. So a lot of people say that, and I think अपने पास भी मतलब 10 में से 5 लीड स्किन केयर ब्रांड की आती है, राइट? या न्यूट्रास्यूटिकल ब्रांड की आती है. So everyone is feeling after the success of for instance Mama Earth and all those beauty brands, they feel ki just because we have a product we are going to build value, we are going to generate sales, but I think differentiation nahi hota. And I think I was talking to one of my clients regarding this, and he was discussing it in internal meet, and a question was asked ki uh, what is the lever for retention marketing, because in D2C you can't build a brand without it. Of course अगर मैं furniture या home decor इस तरह के brand से एक बार निकाल दूँ picture से. So he was asked कि can you tell us what is the biggest lever for retention, and he said the number one is product. And he said नहीं उसकी बात नहीं करते हैं, the investor who was sitting in the meeting. And the reason this really happens is because I think we feel that just because we have a product, people are going to come back, use it. I think unless you are creating something valuable, I think it's not going to work. Which brings me to a very interesting question. I think हम दोनों personally काफ़ी D2C brands की बात करते हैं. What is your favorite D2C brand that you consume and you say कि हाँ यार इसका product मैं बार बार order कर सकता हूँ?
So there is this brand called Minimalist. So I think I love their product. So by their name, that is no bullshit product. So I guess even the recent numbers speaks volume, right? So they are maybe at 20% PAT, and which is a rare sight in D2C, and that is within 3 years and the kind of scale they are in. Second is a product called Brillare. So I guess these are the two brands. Personally, I use that. I use repeatedly.
और कोई प्रोडक्ट नहीं और किसी कैटेगरी में कभी ट्राई किया यार ये बड़ा अच्छा लगा?
I have tried, but I don't want to like say call out on the internet, right? So I have used them, but they were not consistent. So for example, I use brand that I ordered a face wash maybe once, right? They were good. I ordered 3 months back, 6 months back, and I have seen the quality deteriorates over time. Right? So this is, I mean, you will be able to relate that this is as true as for service. You have to maintain that quality
Yeah,
consistently,
that's correct.
right?
That's correct.
So I mean,
That's
I
correct.
don't think a lot of brands will be able to do that or doing that.
हाँ मतलब even for us, some of our biggest customers have come to us via referrals. Of course, we spend a lot in advertising. Of course, we do a very planned lead gen campaigns. But I still think that some of the best people have come to us, or they have given us reference on their own,
Right.
because they simply love working with us,
Right.
right? So I think that's what I wanted to ask. But then moving or taking the conversation forward, I want to understand that there are multiple reasons why businesses are not profitable, since we are talking about scaling, right? अभी तो लोग efficiency ढूंढ रहे हैं marketing में, right? So I think काफी लोग को तो ये भी आइडिया नहीं होता कि what is the ROAS at which I am going to be profitable.
Right.
Like एक ब्रांड था जिसके साथ हमने काम किया था. So that particular brand we started with a ROAS of almost like 2, and our brief was इसको आप लोग 3.5 तक ले जाओ and we'll be profitable. We did that. हमें 5 से 6 महीने लगे. It was challenging project. 3 महीने बाद उसके बाद हमें पता लगता है कि 3.5 पे भी profitability नहीं है. So why does that happen, right? I think a lot of business owners don't understand what their numbers are like, right? So ये होता क्या? Why does this actually happen? Sometimes people don't know कि RTO कितना सिंक इन कर रहा है. Lot of people really don't know कि marketing cost कितना लग रहा है. कई लोगों को तो inventory manage करना भी नहीं आता. But I really want to understand from you, because you also give inputs on the business side rather than just on the marketing side, that why are they are not able to figure out these aspects of the business.
So for me, I think what I've noticed is, as I said, that if the numbers don't make sense on Excel, they are not going to make sense in the real world, right? You should not force numbers. Once in a while, it is fine to boost the ego, maybe sometimes to raise funds, right? But not when you're talking to your team, right? You have to be very realistic with them, set real expectations, and once you figure out your numbers in Excel, in conversations, then it will make sense in real life or real world. So if I have to put my fingers on it, so I will say the first thing is that COGS is fine, they know their COG. RTO component is unexpected. And the second thing I figured out is inventory. A lot of brands burn their hands with inventory. So the fashion brands, the lifestyle brands, or the marketplaces, they struggle a lot with inventory, and that's consume. I guess that is one component that is variable or that is unpredictable for them. So I was talking to a lifestyle brand, and he was doing good in selling ethnic and day-to-day stuff, and then he has this crazy idea that can we add jewelry into it, right? And it's okay to diversify, it's really good to keep upselling and cross selling, but you also have to see what kind of capital you have to offer to build that category. So he called up inventory, and few days into the pipeline, he realized that maybe a few weeks after, he realized that all that inventory is dead. So now your break even ROS, whatever it was, maybe 2.2, it raises by that dead inventory you have, right? So I guess these are the things that actually contributes to your shifting goalpost of break even ROS. Otherwise, as a business, or I would say as fundamental of a business, that break even ROS should be fixed. It will be variable, but maybe 5 to 10%. But it should not move like 50 or 40% in a gap of 3 months, as you have said, right?
No, that's pretty fascinating, because I think a lot of people move into scaling without figuring out these things, and that's when they actually go ahead and burn their hands.
And I also want to reiterate, it's something that I actually talk about with a lot of brands, that you have to figure out which market you want to sell in. So for example, in India there are two markets, right? Maybe as a lot of people say कि भाई दो भारत है, ठीक है? एक भारत है जिसके पास purchasing power है, where you and me comes in, or maybe viewers comes in, right? That Bharat is maybe at max 5% of India, or maybe less, right? And then we have 95% of Bharat जिसके पास उतनी purchasing power नहीं है, but he is aspirational, right? So maybe if you go to tier 3 towns or maybe a village in India, वहाँ पे P&G के shampoos जो है, right, they are very aspirational. Head and Shoulder, Dove, those products are aspirational, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they cost a fraction of a D2C brand, right? तो अगर आप वहाँ टैप कर पाओ तो वहाँ पे कैक के नंबर, कन्वर्जन्स के नंबर सारे बदल जाते हैं। वहाँ पे आपको 1000 रुपये का कैक नहीं आएगा, वहाँ पे आपको 300 रुपये का कैक आएगा। बट देन यू हैव टू फिगर आउट कि भाई 300 रुपये में बिजनेस कैसे बनेगा, कैसे उसमें आरटीओ मैनेज कर रहे हैं। ऐसा नहीं है वहाँ पे बिजनेस नहीं बनेगा, बट लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर एक्चुअली गोइंग आफ्टर दैट 5%, दैट क्रीम दे कॉल इन, बट दैट क्रीम is spoiled. That cream is that customer is pampered with a lot of cashbacks, with a lot of offers, with buy 2 get 4, buy 2 get 6, so I mean that customer is actually very pampered. उसको आप कुछ भी ऑफर करोगे he will want more.
Right, but that's an altogether different ball game. Like वहाँ पे मतलब आपको ऑफलाइन जाना है, you have to build supply chain. मतलब that's something I think it's still harder than figuring out performance marketing. Don't you think so?
I'm not saying आप एकदम से वहाँ पे ऑफलाइन चले जाओ. I'm not suggesting that, by the way. I'm suggesting that with the advent in technology or I will say last mile delivery, अभी आपको बिहार के किसी छोटे से गांव में डिलीवरी करने में प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आप यूपी में टायर 3 टाउन में डिलीवरी कर सकते हो. आप परफॉर्मेंस मार्केटिंग से ही कर सकते हो. एंड आई हैव सीन ब्रांड्स डूइंग दैट. देयर आर ओनली 2 challenges. फर्स्ट कि वो आपको प्राइसिंग फिगर आउट करनी है, किस प्राइस पे वो टायर 3 का कस्टमर, टियर 3 का, टियर 2 का कस्टमर बाय करने को तैयार है. दैट इज फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकंड, वहाँ पे आरटीओस की बहुत प्रॉब्लम है जिसमें ब्रांड फंसना नहीं चाहते. वो आपको सॉल्व करनी है. अगर इफ यू सॉल्व दीज टू, then you have a lot of new customers that you can sell to.
Got it. ठीक है, I think that's very insightful. And since you mentioned Bihar, that's also insightful because I think no offense to anyone, but I think काफ़ी हमें RTOs आते हैं कुछ certain states से, and we also notice this pattern that certain northeastern states, in fact Bihar, certain regions, we get a lot of RTOs, and it happens across the account, right? And that also happens sometimes that the RTOs are in the range of like 50%. मतलब आप जितना भी अच्छा ROAS लेकर आ रहे हो, it will not be sufficient because RTOs will eat into your overall margins, right? So I just want to understand from you, why are brands not able to figure this out right now? Or क्या we need to just be geographically focused, because that again will compromise with the scale, right? So how should one go about it? So what do you recommend to the brands?
So I would say geography focus करने से scale सिर्फ compromise नहीं होगा, ROS भी होगा. So maybe मुंबई से RTOs नहीं आते, महाराष्ट्र से कम आते हैं, मुंबई, दिल्ली जो आपके सिटीज़ हैं वहाँ से कम आते हैं, टियर 1 सिटीज़ से. बट अगर आप सिर्फ उन्हीं को टारगेट करोगे देन एवरी ब्रांड वांट टू डू दैट. तो वहाँ पे आपके CPMs, वहाँ पे आपके नंबर्स पूरे बदल जाते हैं. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट इज़ नॉट जस्ट अबाउट स्केल, इट्स ऑल्सो अबाउट कस्टमर एक्विजिशन कॉस्ट, राइट? नाउ कमिंग टू द सेकंड पॉइंट, आपने बोला कि यार करना कैसे है, तो इसके लिए आपको कॉल करनी पड़ेगी. What I mean by this is, whenever you get an order from tier 2, tier 3 city, right, you have to set up a team, call them, ask them that do they need this order, do they really need this order, or is what it was just like a flash of a moment जिसमें आपने कर दिया and maybe आप इसको अभी रिसीव नहीं करना चाहते. 20 to 30% of the RTOs जो आपको अभी आ रहे हैं वो सिर्फ आप एक इस ट्रिक से हटा सकते हो. बट इसमें आपको रिसोर्स लगाने पड़ेंगे, इसमें आपको टाइम एंड एनर्जी लगानी पड़ेगी. एंड इफ़ यू डू दैट कंसिस्टेंटली, तो आपका आरटीओ का नंबर वैसे ही 20 से 30% कम होने वाला है. डोंट शिप एन ऑर्डर राइट अवे. व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज कॉल देम, वेरीफाई देम दैट डू दे एक्चुअली नीड दिस प्रोडक्ट. इफ दे वेरीफाई कि yes, I need this product, only then ship.
Got it. So I'm also very fascinated by why do RTOs happen, because certain categories I understand that it can happen. So for instance, we talk about apparels, so product are not fitting in, it makes sense, right? I mean, I think every customer of Myntra would have done it, right? And the reason people even order from Myntra is also because the return policy is awesome. The same goes with Amazon. But with D2C brand, when you're just trying to sell it on your website, it's not going to work because there is a back shipping, or there is a cost of whenever the product is coming back to you. One interesting thing one of my prospect told me once is कि इसमें इंसेंटिव ना असल में डिलीवरी कंपनीज का.
इंटरेस्टिंग.
सो पहले ऐसा होता था कि अगर प्रोडक्ट जस्ट शिप हो रहा है, So when you're shipping it, there's a shipping charge, right? But every time that product is coming back to you, who is making money?
The shipping company.
The shipping company, right? So when the shipping company is actually making the money, I mean, they are clearly like incentivized that as long as RTO is happening. He went on to even go and say that to me कि काफी delivery companies जान के नहीं करती हैं, which
hold
is
on, hold this thought, right?
Hmm.
If I was a founder, if I'm a D2C brand founder, I will not do that. I will not blame the delivery companies right away.
And why is that?
Because I mean, as a businessman, first thing, I don't want to operate in a doubt on another businessman just because my business is not working,
बात तो सही है.
right?
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
ये चोर है वो चोर है ऐसे करने से business तो नहीं बनेगा, right?
Correct.
If it is happening with just me, then I should be looking into myself, right? Because if this is the case, तो किसी का भी नहीं बनता, फिर नए का क्या कैसे बन गया? उन्होंने भी बनाया ना.
Correct. हाँ, profitable भी है.
बहुत businesses हैं,
Correct.
right? So it's not just about delivery companies, but India in general, जब आप COD का ऑफर खोल देते हो, then आप कस्टमर के परस्पेक्टिव से सोचो. All I have to do is, with few clicks, I will place an order. I haven't paid an upfront fee, and if I will return this order, I will not be penalized in any way. There is no cost associated to it, right? तो आप ऐसे ही कई बार मजाक मजाक में ऑर्डर कर देते हो और बाद में सोचते हो कि ये लेना भी है या नहीं लेना है.
So basically you're saying it's a spoiled customer.
It's a free, it's like they have a lot of free time in their hand, I would say.
हाँ, मतलब कर दिया देखेंगे.
कर दिया देखेंगे टाइम.
कैश ऑन डिलीवरी तो है ही.
कैश ऑन डिलीवरी है, नहीं पसंद आया मोड़ वापस कर देंगे, नहीं पसंद आया कोई बात नहीं, पसंद आए बिना ही ठीक है, अभी देखा भी नहीं है प्रोडक्ट, बट बीच में मूड चेंज हो गया, वापस कर देंगे. दे फाउंड दिस प्रोडक्ट cheaper in other website. Sometimes that is the reason. Sometimes a competitive product with a better pricing has been found, तो वो एक रीजन हो सकता है. तो इस तरह के काफी रीजन हो सकते हैं जिससे आपको RTO आता है. But as a brand, what you should be focusing on is call them, talk to them. Do they need this product?
Correct.
If they do, we will ship you. And maybe even incentivize it. कि यार देखो आपका प्रोडक्ट हम शिप कर रहे हैं, जो 10% प्रीपेड ऑफर आप उनको वेबसाइट पे दे रहे थे ना, वो कॉल पे दोबारा ऑफर कर दो. इंश्योर इट.
हाँ, sometimes those kind of nudges work.
Definitely.
Right.
इंश्योर योर डिलीवरी कि आप अगर अभी भी मुझे 10% आप मुझे अभी पे कर दोगे तो 10% जो आपको मैं वेबसाइट पे दे रहा था वो यहाँ दे रहा हूँ. एंड लॉट ऑफ ब्रांड्स डू दैट. इट साउंड्स हार्ड लेबर, बट दैट एक्चुअली कंट्रीब्यूट्स टू योर रिडक्शन ऑफ योर RTOs.
हाँ, मुझे लगता है अगर प्रॉफिट अगर आ रहा है तो यार कुछ भी चलेगा, मतलब लेट्स डू
Exactly.
इट, है ना.
Exactly.
It works like that. Well, that's really helpful. I think Nitin, ये काफी लोग इस चीज को implement कर सकते हैं. It's going to be helpful
I
for
hope
a lot
so.
of lot of other
I hope
brands. Right. So the other thing that I want to understand is you have scaled multiple brands in the last year, right? What personally for you has been the biggest challenge?
In scaling or in general working with a brand?
in scaling,
I say when you scale, the biggest challenge is to maintain the numbers, right? Maintain the expectation that you set up to. Right now, it's not just about scale. The brands come with a designated ROS they want, a designated return they want. They want to scale, but sometimes they want to improve that ROS, and the bare minimum they want to maintain it. So that is the biggest challenge that we are solving right now. We are trying to solve for the brands. That how can we do that, right? And second, sometimes what happens with D2C brand is that you found a category that you can scale. That you found a hero product, I would say, that you have a good ROS on. And then you also need to look at that brand should be having an inventory in place for that product. Because in the past we have seen is we found the hero category, we found the hero product. When we started scaling, few weeks into scaling and the product is out of stock. Now all your strategies or your campaigns that you build, right, has to reinvent for another category or another product. So brands should be, it's a two-way process. Agency or your marketing partner need to sit with the brand that, okay, we are scaling this, it's going by these units every day, every week, so please maintain enough stock. Or in other way around, a brand needs to come and say that, okay, I have this much dead inventory in place, right? It's been sitting there for 6 months. How can we clear that up? It works both ways.
Right.
So in scaling, these challenges becomes harder, and these are the actual challenges that eat away your capital or eat away your business numbers.
Got it. This brings me to kind of a final question of the session. is a lot of brands come to us that they say that हमें scale करना है, right? I think personally I have been very skeptical about this, कि which brands to engage with, especially in the last 2 years, right?
Right.
uh, and the reason I do that is I think the brand has not figured out the fundamentals, and I think they are not ready for the agency to take on right now. And the another reason is I think a lot of brands also don't have a PMF. So मैंने कुछ VCs का ये फंडा भी सुना है कि unless you have probably hit 1 CR in revenue, you're not even at a PMF. Some say it's probably 10 lakhs. I don't know what that exact number is, but for us, हम दोनों के लिए, and I think for a lot of listeners who probably run D2C brands, when do you think they should be engaging an agency? राइट, बिकॉज कभी भी आ जाते हैं, मतलब आई थिंक वो 5 लाख 10 लाख किस नंबर पे दे शुड बी डूइंग इट, बिकॉज आई थिंक इफ यू आर एंगेजिंग एन एजेंसी टू अर्ली यू आर लूजिंग मनी, right? If you are built an in-house team and you're struggling at a point of time, right, sometimes the agency seems like an added cost.
Right.
What is the right time a brand should come in and say that, hey, I want you on board?
So first of all, I would say that agency is never an added cost, even if you have an in-house team, right?
I would like to hear that. Please go ahead.
So look at like this, that brand incentive is to scale, is to grow, right? And agency will only make money if the brand's objectives been met, and that is to scale and grow, right? So when the incentives are aligned, there is no better way, right? And that's a win-win situation. Or in economics you can call it a double handshake, right? When both parties actually win in the deal, that's a double handshake. And in this case that actually is, brands will be scaled, ROS will be improved, right? If that is the case, and if agency does that, only then agency will make money. Because you cannot make money when if you are actually serving a brand for a month or two. You will make money when you are serving a brand for 6 months, for 1 year, for 3 years, for 5 years, right? For a longer period of time. So agency will grow when the brand will grow, and I guess when these incentives are aligned, when double handshake is there, then I think there is no harm in engaging, right? So that is the one thing that you asked, right? And second, I would say is that when you said that what would be the right stage, so I would say when you actually figure out your PMF.
But what's that? What's that PMF for you?
It will vary from like brand to brand, because if your AOV is 10,000, right, and you can maybe with 30 sales you are hitting 3 lakhs, right? And if your AOV is 500, so I mean you may have to go like 600 orders for 3 lakhs. So it depends that what industry it is, right? What brand it is, how much he is doing or she is doing in per month basis. But once you are confident that okay, now I'm ready to scale because I have that PMF, it needs a bit of fine tuning, but I have that PMF in place, then that is the right time to scale. That is the right time to engage a marketing agency.
Right, but you're saying essentially saying that actual number of revenue can be very different for two different companies, two different industries. That what you're suggesting, right?
Definitely.
Right, got it. But I think this was really helpful. I think we'll be back with new set of ideas, and next time हम लोग कुछ और interesting discuss करेंगे. But if you like the show, this is something new for us. I would want you to follow us. I would want you to comment and share your views, and whatever you feel needs to be discussed in the next set of episodes, I'll be happy to take it on, and I think Nitin will also like to do that. So thank you so much for joining us. Let's meet later.
Thank you.